The hotel balcony overlooks the Mediterranean. Below, the evening crowd moves through Tiberias, unaware that above them, in a suite paid for with laundered funds, a woman is about to make a decision that could end her life in the next 60 seconds. Her name is not important right now. What matters is what she is holding: a small camera concealed inside a lipstick case, and a handwritten note from the general she has been sleeping with for the past 3 months. The note contains troop movements, weapon shipments, names of collaborators operating inside Israel. She has less than 2 minutes to photograph it before he returns from the bathroom. Her hands are shaking, not from fear of being caught by him, but from the knowledge that if she is caught, there will be no extraction, no diplomatic immunity, no prisoner exchange. Mossad does not negotiate for assets who get burned in enemy territory. They simply vanish from the records. She hears the bathroom door handle turn. She slides the camera back into her purse and places the note exactly where it was, down to the angle. She has rehearsed this moment 100 times. But rehearsal does not account for the sweat on her palms or the fact that the general is not a fool. He has survived 3 wars and a dozen assassination attempts. He knows what betrayal looks like. He steps back into the room. He looks at her, then at the table, then back at her, and he smiles. How did an Israeli agent end up trapped here, betting her life on one impossible trick? And why did Mossad believe that sending an actress into the inner circle of an enemy general was their best chance to prevent a war they could not afford to lose? 3 months earlier, Mossad headquarters in Tel Aviv, a windowless room where 12 men and 2 women are arguing over a map of Syria. The year is 1967, weeks before what history will remember as the Six-Day War. But in this room, nobody knows there will be a 6-day war. What they know is that Syrian artillery positions on the Golan Heights have been shelling Israeli farms and kibbutzim for months. What they know is that Egypt is mobilizing forces in the Sinai. What they know is that Israel is surrounded by enemies who publicly call for its destruction and are now coordinating military plans. What they do not know is the exact scale of the Syrian buildup. They do not know the location of every fortified position. They do not know which generals are cautious and which are eager to strike first. And without that information, any Israeli response becomes a gamble. Intelligence collection in Syria is extremely difficult. Mossad has assets on the ground, but Damascus is a hostile environment. Dead drops get compromised, radio signals get intercepted. Agents get identified and hanged in public squares as a warning. The traditional methods are not producing results fast enough. Then, someone in the room suggests something different. Not a soldier, not a diplomat, not even a trained spy. An actress. The idea sounds absurd at first, but as the discussion continues, the logic becomes clear. Syrian military officers travel frequently to Lebanon, which has a thriving social scene and loose security. They attend parties, they drink, they boast, and they are predictable in one particular weakness: beautiful women who make them feel important. If Mossad can place the right woman in the right place at the right time, she might be able to get closer to a high-value target than any agent ever could. She would not need to break into offices or tap phones. She would not need to evade surveillance teams or run dead drops. She would simply need to become someone a Syrian general wants to impress. The target is identified quickly: a senior Syrian officer with direct access to war planning, a man known for vanity, for extramarital affairs, and for believing himself untouchable. A man who spends his weekends in Beirut, far from the eyes of Damascus security services, enjoying the luxuries he cannot openly indulge at home. Now they need the woman. And not just any woman. She needs to be credible. She needs to be someone who moves naturally in high society, who speaks multiple languages, who can hold a conversation about art and politics and literature without raising suspicion. She needs to be someone who, if questioned later, could plausibly explain why she was in Beirut, why she was at that party, why she spoke to that man. They need someone whose entire life is already built around playing roles, someone trained to lie convincingly in front of an audience, someone who understands performance, improvisation, and controlling the narrative. They need an actress. Her real name is never used in official reports. In Mossad files, she is referred to only by a code name. But her public identity is well known. She is a successful stage actress in Tel Aviv. She has performed in Hebrew adaptations of European classics. She has name recognition. She has social credibility. And she is also, quietly, a committed Zionist who has been looking for a way to contribute to Israel's survival that goes beyond charity galas and public statements. When Mossad approaches her, they are direct. They do not romanticize the work. They do not promise adventure. They tell her exactly what the mission is, what the risks are, and what will happen if it goes wrong. She will be sent to Beirut under a cover identity. She will attend social events where Syrian officers are known to appear. She will engineer an introduction to the target. She will develop a relationship with him. She will extract information. And if at any point the operation is compromised, she will be disavowed. Israel will not acknowledge her. No rescue will be attempted. She will face imprisonment, torture, or execution alone. She asks one question: will this help prevent a war? They tell her the truth. It might. Or it might just help us survive one. She agrees. The preparation is intense but limited. Mossad cannot afford to train her like a field operative because she is not going to behave like one. Her strength is not in tradecraft. Her strength is in being exactly who she already is, a confident, intelligent, cultured woman who belongs in the rooms she will enter. Instead, they focus on the essentials. She is taught how to recognize surveillance, how to use a concealed camera, how to memorize conversations word for word, how to establish contact with her handler without being seen, how to remain calm under interrogation if she is ever detained and questioned. But, most importantly, she is taught how to manage the psychological pressure of living a double life. Because the most dangerous part of this mission is not the moment she photographs a document or passes information to her handler. The most dangerous part is the accumulation of small lies over weeks and months. The constant fear that one forgotten detail, one inconsistent story, one moment of hesitation will reveal her. The cover story is built carefully. She will travel to Beirut as herself, under her real name, for a legitimate reason. She is exploring opportunities to perform in Lebanese theater. This gives her a reason to stay in the city for an extended period, to attend cultural events, to meet influential people. It also means that if Syrian intelligence checks her background, they will find exactly what they expect: a successful Israeli actress with no intelligence connections. Her handler will be a Mossad officer operating under diplomatic cover in the Israeli embassy in Beirut. They will never meet in person. All communication will happen through dead drops and coded messages. If she is compromised, the handler will burn all records of the operation and deny her existence. Before she leaves Tel Aviv, she is given one final briefing. The officer in charge looks her in the eye and says, "You are not a spy. You are an actress playing a role. If you ever start thinking like a spy, you will make mistakes. Stay in character, trust your instincts, and remember, he is not your enemy, he is your audience. Make him believe the performance." She boards the flight to Beirut 3 days later. Beirut, in the 1960s, is a city of contradictions, It is cosmopolitan and glamorous, filled with French cafes and luxury hotels. It is also a crossroads for intelligence services from every major power in the Middle East. Syrian officers come here to escape the watchful eyes of their own government. Israeli agents come here because it is one of the few places in the region where they can operate without being immediately identified. She checks into a hotel in the Christian Quarter. She begins attending gallery openings, theater performances, and social gatherings hosted by wealthy Lebanese families. She is charming. She is interesting. She asks questions and listens. She does not push. She simply exists in the right spaces and waits. It takes 2 weeks before she encounters the target. A mutual acquaintance introduces them at a private dinner party. He is older, confident, dressed in civilian clothes. He does not look like a military officer. He looks like a businessman or a diplomat, but she knows who he is. She has memorized his face, his voice, his mannerisms from photographs and intelligence reports. He is immediately interested. She is beautiful, intelligent, and unlike the other women he has met in Beirut, She does not seem desperate for his attention. She is friendly, but not flirtatious. She asks him about his work in vague terms and listens when he carefully deflects. She talks about her own career, about the theater, about her frustrations with the limitations of performing in a small country like Israel. She makes him feel worldly and important by comparison. They meet again 3 days later, this time by apparent coincidence at a gallery opening. He invites her to dinner. She accepts but suggests they meet somewhere quiet, away from the usual crowd. She wants to signal that she values privacy and discretion, which appeals to a man who has spent his career operating in secrecy. Over the next month, the relationship develops exactly as Mossad hoped. He believes he is seducing her. In reality, she is controlling the pace, the locations, and the emotional dynamics of every interaction. She never asks about his work directly. She never pries. She simply creates an environment where he feels safe enough to talk. And he does talk, not about classified military plans, not at first, but about the pressures of his position, about the frustrations of dealing with politicians in Damascus who do not understand military realities, about his belief that war with Israel is inevitable and that Syria must strike first or risk being destroyed. She listens. She remembers everything. And twice a week, she passes information to her handler through coded messages left in predetermined locations. The intelligence is not operationally decisive yet, but it is valuable. It confirms assessments. It identifies key decision-makers. It reveals the mindset of the Syrian military leadership. Then, in the 6th week, he makes a mistake. He brings a briefcase to her hotel room. He says he has meetings in Beirut the next day and did not want to leave sensitive documents in his own hotel. He trusts her. He believes she is apolitical. He believes she has no connection to Israeli intelligence. He believes he is in control. That night, while he sleeps, she photographs the contents of the briefcase. Troop deployments, artillery positions on the Golan Heights, logistical plans for a coordinated Syrian-Egyptian offensive. The kind of information that, in the right hands, could determine the outcome of a war. But she also knows that photographing the documents is not the end of the mission. It is the beginning of the most dangerous phase. Because now she has to get the intelligence out of Lebanon, back to Tel Aviv, without arousing suspicion. And she has to do it while maintaining the relationship because Mossad wants her to stay in place as long as possible. The photographs are passed to her handler. The intelligence is transmitted to Tel Aviv. Mossad analysts begin integrating the information into war planning. For the first time, Israeli military leaders have a clear picture of Syrian intentions and capabilities on the Golan Heights. The operation is a success. But success in intelligence work is not the same as safety, because the longer the operation continues, the more opportunities there are for something to go wrong. And in this case, something does. It starts small. The general becomes more cautious. Not suspicious, exactly, but he begins asking questions. Where is she staying? Who else has she met in Beirut? Why does she seem so interested in staying in the city when most visiting performers return home after a few weeks? She answers carefully. She never lies directly. She deflects. She redirects. She uses the truth wherever possible. She tells him she is waiting to hear back from a theater producer. She tells him she enjoys the freedom of being away from Tel Aviv, where everyone knows her. She tells him she is in no hurry to return to a country on the brink of war. That last comment is a mistake, a small one, but enough to shift the dynamic, because it reminds him that she is Israeli, and that Israel is his enemy, and that trusting an Israeli woman, no matter how charming or apolitical she seems, is a risk. He begins watching her more closely. He starts testing her. He mentions a meeting that never happened to see if she corrects him. He changes small details and stories he has told her before to see if she notices. He asks her about her family, her friends, her connections in Israel. He does it casually, but she recognizes what is happening. He is running a counterintelligence assessment. He is trying to determine whether she is more than she appears to be. She knows she cannot stay much longer. She sends a coded message to her handler. The operation is compromised. She needs to leave Beirut within 48 hours. The handler agrees, but instructs her to extract one final piece of information if possible. Mossad wants to know the exact date of the planned Syrian offensive. She takes the risk. That night, she asks him directly, not as a spy, as a woman who is afraid of what will happen when the war starts. She tells him she is worried about her family in northern Israel. She tells him she has heard rumors that the Syrian military is planning something. She asks, as if seeking reassurance, whether he believes the situation will escalate soon. He hesitates. Then he tells her. Not the exact date, but enough. He tells her that Syria will coordinate with Egypt, that the operation is planned for late May or early June, that Israeli forces will not be prepared for the scale of the attack. He tells her this because he still believes she is not a threat. He tells her this because he wants to impress her with his knowledge and his importance. She thanks him, she kisses him, and the next morning she tells him she has received word that her producer in Tel Aviv needs her to return immediately for an urgent project. She packs her things. She leaves Beirut on a commercial flight, and she never sees him again. The intelligence she extracted reaches Tel Aviv 72 hours before Israel launches its preemptive strike on the 5th of June, 1967. The war lasts 6 days. Israel destroys the Syrian positions on the Golan Heights, captures the territory, and fundamentally changes the strategic balance of the region. The actress returns to her life in Tel Aviv. She performs. She gives interviews. She never speaks about what she did in Beirut. The operation remains classified for decades. This operation is not well known outside intelligence circles. It does not have the dramatic flair of other Mossad missions. There was no shootout, no car chase, no bomb defused at the last second. But in many ways, it represents something more important: the use of human intelligence, psychological manipulation, and patient tradecraft to achieve a strategic objective that could not have been accomplished through force alone. What made this operation effective was not the technology or the violence. It was the understanding of human weakness. The general believed he was too smart to be deceived. He believed his vanity and his power made him untouchable, and that belief created the opening Mossad needed. But the operation also raises uncomfortable questions. The actress was not a trained intelligence officer. She was a civilian who volunteered for a mission that could have ended in her death or imprisonment. She was sent into a foreign country, instructed to develop a romantic relationship with an enemy officer, and expected to extract intelligence while managing the constant risk of exposure. If the operation had been compromised, Israel would have disavowed her. No rescue, no acknowledgement, no protection. Is that acceptable? Is it ethical to recruit civilians for intelligence work, knowing they will face dangers they are not fully trained to handle? And is it ethical to manipulate another human being, even an enemy, through intimacy and deception? There are no clean answers. Intelligence work operates in a space where moral certainty does not exist. The general was responsible for planning attacks that would have killed Israeli civilians. The actress helped prevent those attacks. But she did so by lying, manipulating, and exploiting a personal relationship. Both sides believed they were acting in defense of their people. Both sides used methods that, in any other context, would be considered morally indefensible. This operation also changed how Mossad thought about human intelligence. It demonstrated that sometimes the most effective operatives are not the ones with the most training, but the ones with the most natural credibility. An actress could go places a trained spy could not. She could ask questions a trained spy would never risk asking. She could build trust in a way that no amount of tradecraft could replicate. In the years after 1967, Mossad expanded its use of non-traditional operatives, not soldiers or career intelligence officers, but people who already had legitimate reasons to be in the places Mossad needed them to be. Business people, academics, journalists, artists, people who could operate in plain sight because their cover was not a fabrication. It was their real life. But every time an intelligence service makes that choice, it blurs the line between combatant and civilian. It turns ordinary people into instruments of state power. And it raises the question, at what point does the need for security justify putting civilians in harm's way? If you were in this position, would you have made the same choice? And if you were the officer in charge, Would you have sent someone into that situation knowing the risks? There is no right answer. Only the decision and the consequences that follow. The actress who went to Beirut returned to her life in Israel. She continued performing. She raised a family. She never sought recognition for what she had done. Because the value of the operation was not in the glory. It was in the intelligence that helped prevent a war from starting on terms that would have been catastrophic for Israel. And in the shadows, that is what intelligence work always is. Not heroism, not adventure, just the quiet, patient work of staying ahead of the next threat. If this operation opened your eyes to how real spy work actually operates in the shadows, subscribe to Hidden Ops for more true missions from the world of covert intelligence.